there's a life I could have known, one beyond my wildest dreams. Maybe that road could have carried me to streets of gold. Things aren't always as they seem. Looking back on all the chances that I missed, some I held, some slipped away. One street over where my memories exist, I wondered what would change, I really couldn't say. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, that would have kept me from the one I had today. Time gone by, I've traded like dirt into clay. I thought my memories would end. One street over is now 1,000 miles away. When I close my eyes, I'm back to where I've been. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, would have kept me from the one I had today. I took a walk one street over from my home, cracked and broken asphalt everywhere. I could have ended up just like that broken road, with a dead end in my path. Thank the Lord that I've got more than that. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I won't forget the lessons that I don't deserve. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, would have kept me from the one I love today. One street over there's a life I could have known.
How you doing, Robertson County? This is 1100 WSGI. I'm U-Turn Laverne. This is One Street Over. Those are the Ridgetop Ramblers singing us in. And if you're watching online, you see I'm by myself. That can be dangerous. Sgt Escue was scheduled to come in here today, and I've got a feeling it slipped his mind. That's one of those things when I have Sgt Escue is the local recruiter. He is in the schools all the time, and we really appreciate him in the schools. He's just a great guy. The kids love him, and he's helping build our future military as he's talking to kids about the options that they have for paying for school and serving their country and just all of those things. And we're kind of coming up on a really good moment to be thinking about that because we're just coming off Veterans Day. And that's what I see Sergeant in the school all the time. And so we always have that passing, I got to get you scheduled. So when Sergeant Escue was at the Veterans Day celebration on, I guess that was Friday. Yeah. Friday. Boy, the days just run together. But when he was in the school with us on Friday, I said, I've got an opening on Monday morning right before Congressman John Rose. Yes, we're going to be hearing from him. I've already confirmed with him. I've been getting a text back and forth from them right now. So we do have Congressman coming on here at 7:30. By the time I said, I've got a 7:30 opening on Monday morning. I said, why don't you come on in and let's talk, because we haven't talked in a while. And he was like, yeah, no problem. Problem is, his card with his phone number is sitting on my desk at school. And so I normally try to remind people, especially after you've had a weekend, because when you don't do this every day, it slips your mind. So kind of thinking he's buttoned up and, military, and he would be in here, I think, by now if he had not forgotten, and we forgive that completely. One of my funniest forgotten guests would be Terry Martin, Hollywood. I'm never going to let him forget this. He was supposed to be in here one morning at 7:30, I think it was. Yeah, he was coming in at 7:30, and he left out of his house and was headed this way, but I appreciate this so much because apparently he has attention issues just like I do. But he just he forgot and drove right by the road even after he left his house with the intention to come in here, because he had so much on his mind with the Winter Wonderland stuff that's going on here in the city. So it's just so funny. It happens. So we forgive you, Sergeant. We will get him rescheduled to get him on in here. But a couple of things that we're going to touch on. There's always something to talk about. But we do have, again, Congressman John Rose is going to be calling us at 7:30, and I'm sure the thing that everybody's wanting to talk about, oh, Lord help us, the elections. And so I say often that one of the best things that's happened to me in a very long time, a couple of years ago, when Miss Shannon Baumgartner came in those doors at a time when I was absolutely in anguish over the direction I saw my country going. And I said, how are you in such a good mood? And she said, I don't know. She's kind of like, she got contemplative for a minute. She goes, I guess it's because I give God my first fruits every day. And it just, how you have those moments within your spirit that just speak to you and challenge you. There's several things in my life that I do because the Spirit spoke to me and challenged me on it. And that was just one that just rang into my soul, man. I can't begin to tell you. And I think it's because I was so obsessed with news at the time, because having spent my entire broadcast career in a news talk radio facility, and I did. I went from WLAC 1510 was always my home, and I started there in the fall of '83, I guess, and then started in the winter of '84 doing U-Turn. And I was U-Turn Laverne for 28 years, and it was always the foundation of it was the WLAC 1510 news group, and then I did, a lot of rock stations and all that. There was a bunch of little assortment of stations I did that were connected to that, but that was my foundation. So I spent my entire career in news, and then I went and worked at the Blaze for a year and a half with Glenn Beck. So you can imagine what my world's been like when it comes to, and I love you, Glenn. I love him to pieces, but that's not my job anymore. And I had Sabi Kumar. It was so funny. I ran into him at the Chili Challenge for Open Door, and he's like, oh, "Where are you? We miss you in the political world." And I said, "God says I don't have to do that no more," and I really felt that. And so, she challenged me to make God my first fruits, and I started doing that the very next day, and I've been doing that ever since. And yes, I know what's going on in the world. I stay plugged. I adhere and rise up to what is my responsibility. And bless those who listen to us all the time. My poor friend Paul Rainey has heard this ad nauseum. He's heard this little spiel because he's with me every morning. Hi, brother. How you doing? And Gwen Harder, oh my goodness, checking in from Israel, from Jerusalem. Oh, she says shalom from Jerusalem. She and the Ebenezer Broadcast Group, they are over, I say the Ebenezer Broadcast, the Ebenezer Church, Ilya Maldonado. He led a pilgrimage. He does this very often, and I live vicariously through them. One of these days, God may let me do that. I don't know. If not, we have a digital world, and I can tour the Holy Land just by turning on my computer and digging into the Word. It is so wonderful. What a cool time we live in. But they're over in Jerusalem right now. So I don't know when they're getting back, but thank you, Gwen, for checking in with us. And Charlene Sullivan over at my father's house. Bless, bless, bless. Is there more kingdom work than what they're doing, sheltering those who don't have a home? We had at our congregation up at Madison, we had a man that went before the church, and he was just asking for prayers for a job and shelter. those are things we just take for granted. And oftentimes, yeah, it's our mess ups and it's the things we do that put us in situations. But when we get there, when we're at our rock bottom and we're like, man, I need help. That's what the hands and feet of Jesus, that's what it's about, you guys, is putting some skin in the game and getting in there and doing something about it. And Charlene, if you want to come in here and talk, honey, you just tell me when and we'll make room for you. But Charlene's on every morning. I see her in comments from my father's house. And we are just so mindful of all the things that y'all do over there, taking care of those who need shelter right now. And my goodness, it's cold out there. I know if you need they need volunteers, and that is done through Grace Baptist Church, is my understanding, through Grace Baptist Church. And they also came in and unpacked this for us at the school. With the kiddos at my audio video broadcast class. And that was the first interview they did. The sound is not awesome on it. I could just go ahead and push that out and hope for the best, but maybe I will try to do that today. But it's very long too. We weren't very good at condensing things down. It's so funny as I'm working with my audio video kids. You have to, and I'm the worst. I mean, you can sit here and listen to me for the next half hour, and I probably won't take a breath. I figure it's already 10 minutes, and I haven't even hardly said hello. But I can talk. But people want distilled thoughts. They want snippets, and so a lot of the times I tell the students, we got to cut this down, and they have such a hard time doing that and getting that down to something we can use. But we're working on that, and that's one of the main things we're going to be talking about this week at school. But through the Grace Baptist Church, get in touch with them if you want to volunteer and help them at my father's house. They've got a new location, just wonderful things going on. Cold weather shelter for those among us that don't have a place to get out of this cold weather, and just something that is so needed right now. So get a hold of Charlene and the group over at my father's house at Grace Baptist. We also want to encourage you to get a hold of United Way and the Give Thanks program that they do, where they fill those boxes. Now, talking to Tiffany and Brian, you got to get that in this week. You've just got to. And I think they were wanting another 40, 50 boxes. I think we all kind of got a little, how things are easy sometime, and then we forget that we got to rise up and get this stuff done. Last year, we got a huge donation from Electrolux, took care of just crazy amounts of food boxes that were able to go out. I forget the exact count, but this year it was back to more of a grassroots effort to get those out. And so we've got people that if they're going to have a Thanksgiving dinner, it's going to be up to us getting those together. It's not hard. I'll reshare this, but Tiffany had put up, I'll just share that right now, but Tiffany Thompson, and she had put up a little thing where her family went out and went through the list and fixed a box and brought it all together. And so you could go grocery shopping and you have things that you put in the box. Plus you also get a $25 gift card, because that allows them to get the perishables like the turkey or the chicken, whatever it is that you have for Thanksgiving, because I know some people don't. Dr. Chris Causey, he doesn't like turkey. It's so funny, but that's another conversation. Maybe we'll ask him about that tomorrow. He'll be in here. Dr. Chris Causey will be in on the show tomorrow. And so maybe we'll ask him about that, since we got Turkey Day coming up on us. But if you want to really get some skin in the game during this Thanksgiving season, call United Way and say, hey, what can I do to help? Maybe you want to help distribute the boxes, whatever it might be. But our United Way here in Robertson County, they are incredible. They are so plugged into the nonprofits in the area. If you just really want someplace to serve, start there. And you say, well, I want to serve through Jesus. I want to make sure that that Jesus gets credit for it. Well, they're plugged into all the nonprofits that are faith-based as well. So whatever it is you're looking for, they're going to point you in the right direction. It's amazing what they do. I'm so proud to know them and appreciate so much what they bring to the table. But with that said, as I'm just kind of going through here and looking at who's online with us this morning, just a reminder, my father's house, give thanks to nonprofits right now really need you, and we need you to get out there and be a part of what's going on. What else do I want to talk about this morning? Because Sergeant Escue forgot. We forgive you. We forgive you, Sergeant, and we'll get you back on soon. I do want to say that I'm working with Alex Maddox. He is going to come on the show he's one of my students. I've invited the students to come on, and the dilemma is that means they have to be at the studio just before 7 o'clock, so that's a bit early. They also have to be at school by 8. My first block at school up at Greenbrier High School is a planning block, and they did that to allow me to continue with this broadcast. So I get off at 8. I roll in there typically 8:20, but school starts at 8. So the students, for them to come in, they have to come in and do the show from 7 to 7:30. And then slide on into school. So what we're working on, Alex is going to come in from 7 to 7:30 one morning right after Thanksgiving. I've got those that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are kind of up in the air. What we're working on, Lacey is going to be coming in from Willow Oak because we need to talk about the Christmas concert. I think it's December 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. But she's going to come in one of those days to talk about that. Working on getting Ace Timbermeyer in here. Ran into Ace. This is Native American Month. And if I remember correctly, the first of the year, and I've been trying to kind of verify this. I don't really know who I need to talk to, but I think I'm supposed to be one of the coordinators for the Native American stuff at the school. So what I'm working on, I reached out to Ace and I said, "Do you have some kind of thing I can hang up on the walls that let the students know about the Trail of Tears, because it comes right through this area?" And the Trail of Tears is something that we need to study and know about. I was talking with Ron Baptiste, Pastor Ron. And he is as Native American as you can get. He's descended from 2 tribes, and he said that his 2 tribes got together and eventually led to him on the Trail of Tears. And so I haven't talked to him this week about it, but we had talked about having him come by and just visit with the students. And I'm trying to figure out when that could be. We're so busy right now trying to get to Thanksgiving. There's so much going on. We're going to do a remembrance ceremony next week at our school at Greenbrier High School, much like we do at the recovery court graduation, where they remember those who have been lost to the drug crisis that we're seeing in the country right now. And Althea is helping me. Althea Sickles helping me with that. God bless you. And so we're working on that. There's just so much going on as we get into the holidays. Oh, and my friend Cindy Story, love you, sister. She is one of the teachers at Greenbrier High School who has just been such a blessing to me, helps me so much. But she and I were talking the other day, and I was telling her about this book, 77 Letters. And you're going to have to go back and take notes on this show because I've been all over the place. But we were talking about this book, 77 Letters. Susan Hunter, she came in the week before last, and she was talking about how that when her mother developed dementia, one of the things that they talk to you about is how to help somebody through dementia is to remind them of things in the past. And so she remembered, and it's been part of her family's heritage, legacy, that they had always talked about this letter writing campaign that they did back whenever Vietnam was going on. Her mother had the campaign of Operation Morale Booster. Well, as she went to get those letters out, just to kind of remind her mother of that, she noticed that there was this many letters from this soldier, this many from this soldier, and there was 77 from one soldier. So there was obviously a relationship there. And what's so cool is she not only had the letter from the soldier, but she also had the letter her mother responded, because she made copies of it. And it's just profound stuff. And I was telling her, I said, we have a literary initiative in our school right now. We're very intentionally, we want to be reading and to motivate our students to do so. And so I've got a copy of the book, and I said, I'm going to start reading them this book, because I think it says so much. Number one, it speaks to something that's going on in our country right now. We've got a renewed racial tension, and it talks about the racial tensions of the 60s. And so that's profound. It talks about the division of the country in regards to we need to be at war, we need to not be. Oh, come on in here, Sergeant. He is here. Bless him. Did you hear me talking about you, or did you just suddenly remember? Come on in here.
What are you talking about?
You heard me talk. You heard me talking about you. Bless your heart. Sit on down here, brother, and we get you rescheduled. But I just want to say, 77 letters. There's going to be a play. It is not happening this week at Cornerstone Church. It's happening at church up in Hendersonville. I talked to Cindy about this. If you want tickets, go to actorspointtheater.com. actorspointtheater.com. And here's the thing, guys, ticket sales have not been awesome, and I think it's because we're all so busy. I can't go because I've just got too many commitments this weekend, but we need to sell this thing out. They've moved it to Hendersonville. actorspointtheater.com, and you need to read this book. Sergeant, what you doing? Get on that microphone, honey. Come on, slide your chair that way. Just come on in. And you are just fine. And so we're going to talk for just a few minutes here. I tell you what, I've got to real quickly do a break because I haven't done a break yet. So let me go ahead and talk about Barry and Rebecca Richards with the Exit Realty Garden Gate team, my friends in real estate. If you are interested in Robertson County and all the things we have going on here, how about a great team like Barry and Rebecca's? And when I say they're a team, he goes, no, we really are in competition with each other, Laverne. They are independent realtors that work together with the Exit Realty Garden Gate team, but they do help each other. He's a marketer. He was a vice president of a media marketing company for 17 years in Nashville. He was just an expert photographer and videographer, and he brings that to the real estate table. His bride, she has been at this a long time to be one of the first in the area to be a seniors real estate specialist. They're from Cross Plains. They've been there for over 20 years. They specialize in Robertson County properties, but they also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky. Great representation for you at the real estate table. Give them a call, 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425. And when you get in touch with them, please, or you can go to sellwithbecky.com, sellwithbecky.com, or buy.robertsoncounty.com. Talk to them and tell them U-Turn sent you. Sgt Escue's in the house. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
So I'm doing excellent, and you could have waited. We can do this later. I mean, we'll get you back in here and give you a full half hour because I've got Congressman calling in here in just a few minutes.
Okay.
So we don't have just a ton of time. Yes, but so you heard me talking about you on radio.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm impressed. Were you on social media or were you on the regular radio
I was
in your car?
taking my daughter to school this morning in the
bless.
car. So, and yeah, I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, May, we got to hurry up. And I called my daughter May.
That's sweet.
So, but
you're fine. You're fine. But yeah, I told him. I said, we were talking, and your card is sitting on my desk at school, and for some reason, I don't know why in the world your phone number's not in my phone, but it will be when I get to the school today because I would have called and reminded you yesterday.
Yes, ma'am.
Because man, life happens,
yes,
and when you
ma'am.
don't come and do this every day, you forget.
Yes, ma'am.
So I tell you, let's just do your elevator spiel.
Okay.
Talk to everybody about what you do and the need and man, the opportunity. I know Matt Driscoll's daughter Hannah, she had gone into school and all this kind of thing, and all of a sudden she's like, "This is expensive," and she's joined. So talk to them about all the different things and I think she's Air Force though, and you're Army, so it's a different branch, but still the same benefit. My son paid for his college, got 2 degrees. Coming out, he served, honorably.
Did he have a good Veterans Day?
He did. He ate too much.
Awesome.
You know how that goes.
Yes, absolutely.
He ate too much. Matt Driscoll's he's like, I love that we're here at school and that we're having this cool Veterans Day service, but you really messed up my feasting because he normally goes from restaurant to restaurant,
It's common amongst the community.
Yes, it is. I hear that. But my son, he's like, I called him and said, "Happy Veterans Day." I said, "Have you eaten good today?" And he goes, "As a matter of fact, I'm something," and he was eating. It was so
That's
funny.
wonderful.
Okay, so talk to us.
Okay.
Tell us what's going on.
My name is Sgt Escue. I'm with the Tennessee Army National Guard. Essentially, my job is just to facilitate those who are interested in military service so that they understand the benefits, because behind every benefit and all that stuff in getting the military, there's policies and regulations. Mm-hmm. My job is basically to explain those policies and regulations and what people qualify for. Typically, if you join the Tennessee Army National Guard, as long as you're an active drilling member, you qualify for the Tennessee Strong Act, which pays 100% tuition reimbursement to any state school.
That's amazing.
That's including UT Knoxville, which is the highest paid tuition in the state. Mm-hmm. So if you want to go, watch your football season, hopefully we'll beat Georgia next year, and you can go see that in Neyland Stadium and get your tuition paid for. That's not counting also the tax-free money just recently raised up in the Montgomery GI Bill to $439 a month tax-free money just straight to your bank account. Other benefits include student loan repayment. Say you're a non-traditional student and you still have student loans from way back when. Well, as long as you qualify and you're an active drilling member in the Tennessee Army National Guard, up to $50,000 of your student loans can be repaid back.
That's amazing.
That way you ain't got to worry about that, and you can put money towards things like, life, water bills, mortgage, stuff like that.
But I'll get deployed.
Yeah. So,
is that the question you get?
So that is the question I get. Deployments do happen from time to time, but the thing is with the National Guard, one, if you score above a 50 on the ASVAB, you get 2 years of college first, but that's all you have to worry about is going to college and drilling on your 1 week in a month, 2
and
weeks
if you
in summer.
score what again?
A 50 or above on the ASVAB.
Okay.
And then another added benefit is we have a website in the National Guard called the Tour of Duty. That allows you to look at active duty units and other National Guard units that are going to go deploy, whether it be Guatemala or Africa or wherever. You can kind of pick and choose what they're needing for their jobs, and then where are they also going. So that's important to people that are wanting to maybe get out, maybe go adventure, maybe go somewhere that they haven't been before, and it's a good opportunity for anyone, I think.
Very good. And I always say that my greatest regret, hands down, is that I did not serve. And I'll be 60 this year, so I'm a child of Vietnam. I'm a child of the Vietnam era, and losing my friend in Vietnam made me just scared to death of it, of being in it. Because losing Kenneth at such a young age, that's my first real vivid memory of my childhood, and so it just. It's just like I feel a call to ministry. I was called to it, and I turned it down. And I just encourage our students all the time, look at it, because you just can't imagine anything would be more fulfilling. I think. I
will say that, and I imagine your son's probably the same way, cut from kind of the same cloth. It is very scary. It is very, it's kind of like the fear of the unknown.
Sure.
But I can say that the military has given me everything I've ever had. Literally can. I think it's easy to sell this product of the United States Army National Guard when I've been buying it for so long. So
absolutely. How long have you been in the service?
I've been in the service for 7 years now.
Okay. You got out for a minute and then went back.
That's right. That's right.
And that you can do that. I mean, that's the thing. You can do those kinds of things. They make it real easy to think, okay, do I want to do this? Well, not. I think I need to be back here.
I know for me, kind of reaching out to the prior service guys that may be listening, I know it was a big deal for me because I had lost my health care benefits leaving one job, and I knew that if I joined the Army National Guard, I could have health care benefits again. And I knew that TRICARE is a great health care benefit to have, and it's very affordable. If you're a single person, it's $42.18 a month. Whether you got 2 kids or 20, it's $230 a month, no matter what. So it's great.
But I mean, that's the thing. And so there's so much benefit to it, and I can't say enough. And we're just the same as our time, because John's going to be calling just any minute. We've got to talk to Congressman John Rose about the election. But I'll just say right now, I've got several openings the 3 days after Thanksgiving weekend, like the 27th, 28th, 29th. Okay. So will you come in one of those and let's talk a little bit more?
Yes, ma'am.
And talk
absolutely.
about the rate of recruitment and some of those things.
Absolutely.
And let's get a little bit more into it. And trust me, brother, I'm so sorry I didn't call and remind you.
No.
It's no big deal. I can always fill 30 minutes because I'm just, I'm a chatty. But anything you want to say parting, and then I got to do a commercial and get ready for John to call.
I just want to, thank you for your time, for being on the air. And also, if you're thinking about reaching out to me and asking questions about the military and the Tennessee Army National Guard, I'm kind of the local Robertson County representative. That number is 629-395-9318.
Do it again.
629-395-9318. You can text me, call me, whatever you feel more comfortable with.
And I will be putting that phone number in my phone because I know this man. I see him at school all the time. The students love you. They have so much respect for you. I got such a kick out of how they reacted to you. And I want to say Happy Veterans Day, but you're still in service, so it's kind of like the question was asked. It's like, what do you miss most about being out of the service? And you and Christy were both kind of like, we're still in. But that's the reason we're dressed the way we're dressed. But and you looked very handsome Friday, by the way.
Thank you.
Very much so. But just really appreciated seeing you.
Yes, ma'am.
So, well, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say thank you again for having me, and
Absolutely.
it's always a pleasure.
And hi to your little one that you had to rush and drop off
Absolutely.
to get here. But I'll call you this week, and we'll get you back on the schedule for after Thanksgiving.
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate you, Sergeant. God bless you. And we're getting ready to see John Rose. He's going to be calling in here in just a moment. We'll be watching the phones. But while we're doing that, we're going to talk about Highland Rim Speedway. All right. The weather kicked them last weekend. I had planned on being there Saturday, and I'm so sad that they had to call it, but I kind of thought they were going to. Though I mean, we had snow, we had ice. I don't know if you noticed that Saturday morning. So everything that they had scheduled this past Saturday, they're moving it to this Saturday. That means that they're going to have the gates open at 2, and racing actually the gates open at 1. Racing starts at 2. They're expecting the demo derby to start around 5 o'clock. I think is when that's going to start. But and he even put out on the social media. He said, "Okay, fans, bring dish soap so we can soap up the track for the demo derby." That sounds so interesting and so crazy, but there's a lot of good fun that they have over, and I don't know if I called it Highland Rim, but that's how you find it on social media. It's Veterans Motorplex, the old Highland Rim Speedway. If you want to follow them on social media, which is the best way to know what is going on, go to Highland Rim Speedway on social media, and you'll see Veterans Motorplex, and that's where Jerry keeps you up to date on everything going on. $50 tickets this weekend will get you 8 people in the gate, 6 minors, 2 adults for $50. Cannot beat that. And this is at the Old Highland Rim Speedway, 6801 Kelly Willis Road in Greenbrier. If you want to, get some information, if you need to give them a call, 615-643-8725. And when you do call them, be sure and tell them that you turned sent you. And we are going to answer the phone now and get John Rose on the phone.
John.
Congressman, how are you doing? I got you. Are you there?
Good morning, U-Turn. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. So good to hear from you. I'm just getting so melancholy because we've only got one more time to talk to you as our congressman, brother. Man, we're going to miss you.
Well,
I mean, truly.
I'm going to miss you and miss the great people in Robertson County. It's been such an honor to represent Robertson County, and hating that that's coming to an end.
Yeah, and that redistricting thing, we've got Congressman Mark Green. He's going to be our representative, and anxious to get to know him. I do not know him at all. Now, I've had his number passed on to me where I can reach out to his somebody that works in his office. So hopefully we can set something up to where we're talking to him as regularly as we do you. And I cannot say enough how much we appreciate you making room for us on your schedule to come in here and talk with us every month, that I don't forget that I have you scheduled. Of course, we know that I have done that before, but we won't talk about that. But again, I would be remiss if I didn't say, kind of melancholy about the fact that I've just got you one more time. And so we'll talk to you in December, of course, but and give our love to Chelsea. Just love watching her and the boys. I've just gotten such joy out of seeing your little sweet family grow. It is just so beautiful, sir. And we appreciate you sharing that with us.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. So, okay, we got stuff to talk about. What about the election? I mean, that's what everybody wants to talk about. What say you, sir? What say you?
Well, so I'll start with the positive. We got the job done here in Tennessee.
Yes.
And now have an 8-1 delegation. So we picked up a seat here in Tennessee and did our job. And I think Tennessee voters came out and spoke loudly. And so I'm so appreciative of the support of the people in the new 6th district, and the chance to go back to Washington and represent our Tennessee values there. And so we picked up a seat. It is still, I think, a mystery a little bit to me why the national outcome is as it is. But clearly, I think it's a mix of things, and I think we're going to have control of the House. I think we're going to. I would have said so with more certainty a few days ago, but it still looks positive that we win the House, although it's going to be a narrow majority, and we're going to lose a few incumbent Republicans. We also gained seats in Florida, gained seats in New York, gained seats in Tennessee, gained a seat in Tennessee. So it's kind of a mixed bag. And unfortunately, we're not going to pick up the Senate, and we're going to have a narrower majority in the House than we had hoped.
Well, and with that said, though, as I watch this, with the runoff, would that would change Senate control, though, if they win in the runoff, though, right, down in Georgia?
No, it now with the recent call of the seat in Nevada, we will be back to 50-50. If we win in Georgia, we will be back to 50-50 with Vice President Harris able to cast a deciding vote. So our hopes to end Democratic control in the Senate are going to have to be put off till 2 years from now. And of course the calendar, of course, who knows? 2 years is a eternity in politics, as folks say, and so we don't know where we'll be at that time. And I, can talk a little bit about why, I think one of the reasons that I think that this happened. There are actually 2 or 3 that I'd be happy to visit, but that I think. But of course, at this point, I think it's a little early to know exactly what happened and why we didn't do as well as we hoped we would.
Well, and the first thing that I hear from a lot of people is they are continuing to cheat in the election. And I say I am on the right side. I really like to refer to myself more as a patriot than anything. I care about the foundations of what this country was founded on, and that's freedom. And my goodness, we haven't been free as a nation really in a very long time. And it's been what we have signed up for. It's what we've elected. And so now those of us who really uphold freedom, as I know you do, are seeing the elections across the country, and many are thinking, will we ever be able to bring this in? Because elections are under state control. Some states have just lost their minds. And it seems that they have in the things that are going on. And most of the real constitutional conservatives, I know there's a lot of us that do not trust the elections anymore. So is that one of your things that you think went amiss? Is that there's still some fraudulent things happening? Or what would you say to that question? Because that's at the top of the mind for most.
Sure, I remain deeply concerned. I think anyone would have to be concerned. One of the most common responses that I hear about the elections is this, taking days afterwards for the count to continue and votes continuing to show up, and it certainly erodes our confidence in the system. After the 2020 election, I kind of went to school on this, thought about this a lot, participated in a lot of the discussions and actions in Washington to try to decide what could we do. And as a part of that, I kind of came up with you might call it the election value triangle. And there are 3 values, it seems to me, when it comes to elections. We want the highest possible turnout. We want that. So we want everyone who's legally entitled to vote to get to vote and to have an opportunity to vote. We want the elections to be trustworthy. In other words, we want to be able to rely on the results. And the way I would put that is we want the winner to accept the results, and we want the loser to be readily able and willing to accept the results of the vote count. And then finally, we want those results to arrive in a timely way. Mm-hmm. And so what I would say about those 3 values is that you can't have the optimum of all 3 at the same time. In other words, if you try to get 100% turnout, then it's likely that the results are not going to be available in a timely way, and we may not be able to fully trust them, because we've seen what some states have done in the name of getting the highest possible voter turnout. That's what we see happening out west in Arizona, Nevada, and California, and other states across the country, where they're allowing folks to mail in these ballots. Heaven knows, anybody who's thought about it, I did just out of curiosity, I did a search yesterday for postal frank or a date stamp, and anyone could get their hands on such a thing. And so if we judge whether or not a ballot can be counted by whether or not the postmark on it is the date of the election, what I know, and I think most folks know kind of intuitively, is that almost anyone could get their hands on such a thing and date stamp a ballot and then drop it in, and it arrives, and and it gets counted. And so there's too much room for manipulation in those situations where the vote count keeps going. The other side, or whichever side gets a chance to see how many votes they need, and if you're willing to cheat, then you have ample opportunity to do so. And so that erodes our confidence. When we can go to bed on election night and know who won in Tennessee, and then we have to sit for days, in some cases weeks, and wait for California to count their votes, and for Nevada and Arizona, and we know they're not unsophisticated.
Yeah.
They could count their votes in a timely fashion if they wanted to, but they've set up the rules in such a way. And what we also know from historical precedent is that if you want to cheat in an election, the way to do it is through what we used to call absentee ballots. Today we might call them mail-in ballots, but even in our own history here in Tennessee, when we've seen widespread election fraud, so often it was connected to those absentee ballots. And so, it causes us to have reduced confidence in the elections. And frankly, we deserve to be able to count on these other states. I don't know when they're going to decide that their current systems are dysfunctional. And I think we also have to think about at the federal level what we can do to restore confidence in the elections. One way that I think we should go about this, frankly, is if California, Nevada, Arizona, other places like that, if they want to do this, I think we have to say to them, okay, here's the deal. If you want to take ballots in for days after the election is over, you cannot start counting until you have all of the ballots enumerated and collected in front of you that you're going to count. So at least we know, here is the number. We don't have to guess about how many more might come in. We force them to say, you can't start counting and then kind of work your way to the answer you want. You have to collect all the ballots, and everyone has to agree. That's all of them right there. This is the number. There are going to be, X number of ballots total. No more can come in. Some could go out if they're not done correctly, but there will be no more ballots than the total number that we've determined here that have arrived. I think that would be one way of getting at this, and a way that perhaps can retain state control, but give the rest of us some opportunity to have greater certainty that what they're doing is not fraudulent. And I don't know. We haven't seen what I would consider to be credible substantive allegations of actual misconduct, but we know from the 2020 election that all of the changing of the rules, all of the kind of questionable procedures that got put in place led to anomalies that frankly have still not been explained to the rest of the country. And I think ultimately we deserve explanations for what happened in those states and what is happening now.
And see, I think that's, as your folks always reach out to me and they go, what do you want to talk about, Laverne? And this is it. And this is what has been the topic, really, Congressman, since the last election. But there was there doesn't seem to be any solution. And of course now with the anticipation of the control of the House, but without the Senate, what can you do? I do see a lot of people from a political standpoint just kind of wringing their hands, and I almost feel like to say, God bless you, sir, because you're just going to have to stand as sentinel until we can do something that, and I mean, you look down the road and you think, well, maybe next election we can do something to where we can insist on some guidelines for these elections. I know we don't want to take control because it's a state's thing, but in the same sense, if federally we say for the federal elections, you can do whatever you want for the state elections, but when it comes to the federal elections, these are the guidelines you have to follow. And I don't know, you can hear the disgust and the frustration in my voice as one of your, as one of just the citizens out here, because we don't feel like there's anything we can do about it. We vote and we do what we can, and so we're just kind of like, want to throw up our hands in some regards, because this is something we were all saying, and I'm not putting that on you, because there's nothing you really could do with not having control of the Congress, but that's where the country is right now. From the constitutional conservatives, we're going, I'm glad I'm in Tennessee. I love what Bill Lee said. If you heard his acceptance speech the other night, and God bless his sweet bride as she's battling her health stuff, but just prayers for her. But he said somebody came up to him as he was on the campaign trail and said, I came to Tennessee and I feel like I returned to America. And so, I'm serious, man.
A free country.
Yeah, I feel like I've returned to America. And so we take and we kind of pull in, and we're like, I'm in Tennessee, but we don't really know what to do beyond that, because we don't feel like there's a chance that we're going to be able to get a constitutional conservative in the White House again, because of what's going on in these states that have so much control. And I don't know. I don't know if that's even a question, sir. Do you want to add to that?
Well, I think it is. I think it is a very real concern, and I share that concern. And I think we have to go back to school. You know, from our earlier discussions after the 2020 election, I have said that, looking back at history and thinking about where we've been in the past and when we've had problems like this before, it took a while. And this is one of those frustrating things about the republic and the way that our government was set up that is mind-numbingly frustrating on the one hand, but it was what the founders, it was the best they could do. And I think it works pretty well, is that they wanted government to move slowly. They wanted it to be hampered, if you will, almost in terms of the ability for our leaders to get ahead of themselves and to move too quickly. And their fault was, if we slow things down, it gives the public time to react and respond. Now, when things are being changed in a way that we don't like, we're happy that that's true, and things are not changing fast enough to suit us. We're frustrated by that. But I think generally it serves us well. So the last time we had a major national crisis with our elections, it took a decade to finally get, the problem taken care of and solved. And so I think we may be sadly in for a long haul here, but that doesn't mean we don't keep working. And I think we will have the control of the House, and that will give us a chance to dig into this in a way that we haven't been able to for the last 2 years, and so I'm looking forward to that. I hope that we're able to. It looks very strong that we're going to win the House. It's going to be a narrow majority, sadly, which means that's going to make it a little challenging. And you know how Republicans are. We're going to have some fighting amongst ourselves. It looks like some folks want to, kind of push the envelope. So that's to be expected. But we'll work through those things. And then I think we'll have control of the House, and it'll put us in a position where hopefully we can go after some of these issues and be more effective in addressing them than we have been over the last 2 years. I do think we should talk about some of the other issues that I think may have impacted the outcome last Tuesday, and because I think there's some lessons there, and I think if we ignore those lessons as Republicans, we may be doomed to repeat the outcome that we just saw happen.
Okay, so where would you like to go? Where would you like to go next? Yeah.
So I would just say to everyone listening, I think all of the bad news that we've been talking about for the country that we've seen come about as a result of the Biden policies, all of that's true, and we see it, and I think as conservatives we're very frustrated by it. But the reality is, and not everyone may agree with what I'm getting ready to say, but I think it's true enough that I think it turns out that it's a factor. So as we saw the polling ahead of the election, one of the things we saw is that Americans repeatedly all across the country said that the economy, inflation, the border, these were all very important issues, and they were concerned about them. But I think the reality is most people in this country have yet to be really dramatically impacted by the economic situation that we're in. So we're frustrated when we go and we have to pay, higher prices at the fuel pump to fill up our car. We're frustrated when our groceries are more expensive. But for the most part, we've all still got a job. We're able to get a new job if we want one. And so the pain of this economic downturn that I think we all sense is coming our way it really hasn't touched everyone yet. Now, there's some, certainly, and I don't want to discount the pain that many are feeling, but so many Americans anticipate that pain coming, but so far they've been able to make adjustments, and they haven't really felt that pain as as strongly as I think they fear they're going to. And so that may have affected their motivation to get out to vote, and it may have affected who they voted for, because they obviously the government spent a lot of money, or sent a lot of money to people, and if you listen to bankers and you see the data, most Americans are still in pretty good shape financially right now, and now they sense the coming storm, but they haven't had it visit upon them. So I think that's a factor. I think a factor that we have to keep in mind in the House, particularly where we saw us not pick up the seats we had hoped to, is that we had gained seats in the last election. So despite the fact that President Trump got beat, in that that President Biden ended up being declared the winner, we picked up 13 seats in the House. And so the truth is, we had won the easy seats. We had won the ones where we clearly had an advantage. So we were fighting in seats this time where most places across the country, with the exception of a few places, we were trying to win seats that are, on the whole, lean toward the liberal side of the equation. And so that's harder to do. And then I think the third thing I would say is that we have to be more sober as Republicans and know we live in a conservative part of the country. We have conservative values here, but those values are not held as strongly in other places. And so when we see Republicans running that are kind of farther to the right in places that are kind of more evenly divided, we have to be sober that maybe we can't have our most conservative candidates run there. And I think we saw that particularly in the Senate races, where we had, for example, a candidate in New Hampshire that was very conservative. We would have loved to see him get elected, but the truth is he was probably too conservative for New Hampshire. And so maybe a slightly less stridently conservative candidate might have had a better chance in New Hampshire of winning. And, of course, that could have made the difference in terms of who controls the Senate. And so we've just got to be sober and rational about that, I think, across the country. And just because we can win and get far-right conservatives elected, in the primary, doesn't mean they can win in the general. And then I think we all can see, and I think we all knew ahead of time, some of our candidates running, particularly on the Senate side, but this was also true on the House side, were maybe not the best candidates. And as you know, it matters. I mean, we need to find the best people we can that have the best records possible to run in these races, and that puts us in a better position to win when the general election day comes.
Very good. Talking with Congressman John Rose, and about, of course, we're the mood of the country right now, and the things that are on his mind to bring to us. And sadly, this is the next to the last time that he'll be our regular guest because of the redistricting. Congressman Mark Green is taking over, who is a wonderful man. I have not gotten to know him, but I'm looking forward to that. And we appreciate so much, John, you coming on and just kind of speaking some encouragement to us. Now, do you have anything specific that you want to address before we're coming up? We have just about 7 or 8 minutes left here. Anything else that you want to bring?
I would just note to everyone how important it is to remain optimistic, to come out to vote. And we do have an important election in Georgia where we want to win that Senate seat. And so if you're able to help financially, that's going to be an expensive race. And I know it's going to be frustrating to everyone to have to listen to all of the pundits talk about that for a whole month, and kind of wish that we didn't have to go through that. But we do have a chance here to pick up that seat, and it's important, if we can, to do so. It will matter in the future. It will matter over the next 2 years. And so anyone who's able to help financially, that would be great. If you can go down and help door knock and campaign, I'm sure there'll be some buses going down from Tennessee to help out over the next few weeks, and so or maybe a chance to make phone calls. Any way that you can help would be appreciated. if you don't want to try to figure that out, and you're willing to help me, you can still go online and contribute or mail contribution to me, and I'll see to it that money gets to help Herschel Walker in Georgia.
Okay.
And we don't need to give up. I know sometimes it's easy to get frustrated and say, I don't trust the results, so I'm just not going to go out. I mean, that's the worst possible thing we can do. We saw that 2 years ago in Georgia.
And some people even encouraged that, and that was just breathtaking to me. And I can't remember all the specifics of it, but I remember there being a news, there was some conservatives like, I just don't even go. It's like, are you kidding me? Absolutely double down and get out. And I call the people of faith to get out and get to the polls. That's one of the most distressing things to me is the people who are people of faith that they're like, well, I'm just not even going to vote. Well, if you want to be able to promote Christian values, then we need believers up there, just speaking some truth. And anyway.
Absolutely. No, you're exactly right. We need to vote, and it's and it becomes even more important. And I think this is true. We had some good turnouts at certain places around the country, but there were enough Republicans who stayed home to change the outcomes in these elections. And the other side could say that too, but we've just got to get our voters out to vote, and it makes a difference. And just about every one of these races that we're losing across the country, we're losing them by narrow margins.
Oh yeah.
And so, I've forgotten the exact number, but in the last election, the difference between who controlled the House was less than 40,000 votes spread across the country. So, it matters a lot. And so we just have got to keep people motivated and knowing that their votes matter and they should come out. And the more of us that vote, the harder it is. If there is some malfeasance in the administration of the elections, the more of us that come out and vote, the harder it is for them to do that. And I know that's one of the things, maybe most disturbing things I saw last Tuesday is the long lines that formed in certain places. Not disturbing because there were long lines and that people were out voting, but because we weren't equipped to handle the same day voters. And so we just gotta, we've got to keep the pressure on our election officials, even here in Tennessee, to be set up to accommodate so that when there is a big turnout, people don't get frustrated and turn around and go home, because it's so important that we get our voters out.
Amen and amen. And with, just kind of put, maybe we can talk about this a little bit more next time, but who do you think is going to run for president? Do you think there's any? I'm curious about Kristi Noem. I love Kristi Noem, and I kind of could see her throwing her hat in the ring. But what are you feeling in Washington? What kind of names are being tossed around, other than the obvious? Of course, I think we.
Yeah. So. Sure. I think mainly the obvious, the names that you're hearing. I'm not hearing. There's no kind of surprise candidate out there that I'm hearing about that you're not hearing reported in the news. So, obviously President Trump is considering it. It seems Ron DeSantis is considering a run. Mike Pompeo, the former Secretary of State, is thinking about running. Mike Pence, the former Vice President, is thinking about running. Haley from South Carolina, I can't say her first name all of a sudden. Nikki Haley.
Yeah, I was the same thing. I went blank too.
And then there's some discussion about the Virginia Governor Youngkin being a possible candidate. Kristi Noem, that you mentioned, is another name that's thrown around. The great news, and I think even most pundits on the other side, on the Democratic side, would agree about this, is that the Republicans are blessed with just a strong field of candidates. And I think all of those people who I just named could make great presidents for the country and will be strong candidates if they choose to run. And I'm looking forward to seeing that primary and seeing who actually gets into the race. And I think we're going to have a lot of great choices. And there's a whole second group of people who've either run in the past or, I think about Ted Cruz from Texas.
Right.
Is a possible candidate that could get in. The senator from, both of Florida senators are actually being Rick Scott and I'll have another senior moment.
You're fine.
Both the senators down in Florida are being rumored as possible candidates, and Marco Rubio. My mind's not running as fast as my.
Well, I put you on the spot
So,
too. So this is off the top of his head. So I think you're doing excellent. So I put you on the spot on that one.
I think we're going to have a great crop of candidates to choose from in a spirited primary, no doubt. And I think that I hope I'm wrong. I hope, for the sake of everyone listening, for all of America, I hope that our economy doesn't get in worse shape, and I hope we're able to keep things moving in the right direction, and we'll take our lumps politically, whatever that might bring. But so I hope the best for this country, and that we see just a great roaring economy over the next 2 years. I fear that might not be true, and so of course but we see so many other bad policies, and I know we're out of time, but never in my lifetime have I seen more clear the connection between bad policy decisions that this president has made and the bad results for our country. And we talked about the border in the past, so I might just revisit that, and our standing internationally as our president's overseas. But I think all these things have suffered under his watch, and so now we're gonna have our work cut out for us in the House. Thank you again to the people of Robertson County for sending me to Washington to represent you 2 years ago, and I'm sorry that I don't get to continue to represent you. And thanks to any listeners that are still in my district for the vote of confidence and sending me back to represent the new 6th district for the next 2 years, and Robertson County is going to be well represented by Congressman Mark Green.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And I'll count on talking to you one more time in December. Sound good?
Thank you. And you can talk to me in the future. I'd be happy to. So
awesome.
If you ever need me, just let us know.
You got it, brother. We'll plan on. I was kind of wondering because you talked to Brian up at 99.7, and I don't know. Are you going to be? You might be his representative now.
I am. He's
yes.
to Watertown, Tennessee.
Yes,
he's
one of your constituents
I am now his member of
Yes.
Congress.
Yes. But of course, he represents a radio station that's in Davidson County. But you've got part of Davidson County, so that's so weird. I mean, as I look at the redistricting and everything, it's going to be interesting. So yes, absolutely, I appreciate that invitation, and so we will be calling.
Very good.
Thank you, John.
Say hello to people of Robertson County.
Appreciate you, sir. Appreciate you. God bless you. And as we wrap up the show this morning, and say bye to Congressman John Rose, representing us very well in Washington. Appreciate him so much. Want to talk just a couple of things. The Tennessee Firearms Association, their Thanksgiving dinner is tonight. It's going to be over at the American Legion Hall, and just go and check out Tennessee Firearms Association to get all of the information on that. But that is tonight. And Lee Marie and them just want you to invite you to come out and be a part of that. Their Thanksgiving potluck is always so much fun, but that's up at the American Legion Hall. And I got to hurry because we're out of time. We're over time a little bit. But I've got one more sponsor that we need to talk about, and that's Corbin Creek Greenhouse Gifts and Gardening Center. Love those guys so much. They are just great fans of this, or great supporters of this program. They've been one of our longest running sponsors, and they are just so much going on. Right now, I know that things aren't growing unless they're in the greenhouse. You can go and get you some beautiful house plants, but the succulents, they're just beautiful stuff. Everything's so well rooted there. But they also are your CBD source. If you're somebody like me that has arthritis issues, sleep issues, inflammation issues, my doctor told me to start taking CBD. That's why I sought it out, because until he said so, I didn't think it was a thing. And that's my hip replacement doctor. I've already had both of my hips replaced. I'm almost 60, so I'm much older than I look, right? So that means I've got joint pains, arthritic issues, and CBD has been a tremendous help to me, and it may be for you. So that's what they do in the winter. They are your Robertson County CBD source. Everything that they have is produced from plants that her brother Bill grows. The salves and all of those things that they have, she and her mom make. Some other things that she and her mom make are some of the craft items that you'll find there inside the store. Bowl cozies for your microwave bowls as you put your soup in the microwave. Beautiful handmade aprons. They've got sourdough bread. All kinds of fun things happening. Their hours have been changed because of the cold weather. Oh, they also do Christmas decorations too, but you need to get a hold of them right now for that. But they're open Monday through Saturday from 10 10 to 4, Monday through Saturday, 10 to 4. Sunday, they're open from 1 to 4. So just follow them on social media, and that way you can find out all the latest that's happening at Corbin Creek Greenhouse Gifts and Gardening Center, one of our great sponsors here. They're at 4920 Highway 161. When you go by there, please always tell them U-Turn sent you. And one other thing before we go, Charlene reached out with My Father's House. She says, if you want to volunteer, and they need you to volunteer with My Father's House, the way to volunteer is call 615-992-1547, 615-992-1547. I'm going to do it one more time. This is 615-992-1547. Call them, and she will talk to you directly. You don't have to go through Place Baptist. But anyway, God bless you. This is
Ron
1100
Jordan with your local news
WSGI.
from WSGI. Deer hunting season opens this month, and the Wildlife Department wants hunters to brush up on the rules and know what the bag limits are. The department has a map showing the counties in each unit in the state, and each unit has a different bag limit. It also indicates the counties where chronic wasting disease has been detected. No more than one antlered deer can be taken a day, and only $2 a season. Deer season opens November 19th. Who doesn't love Dolly Parton is getting $100 million from Jeff Bezos. The country music legend is the latest person to receive Bezos' Courage and Civility Award for her philanthropic